Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Surfing Your Edge. Thank you for being here. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the framework that I have to help you surf your edge. And if you're still getting used to the concept of surfing your edge, remember that is the way you continue to grow, is to be out on the edge of what feels comfortable, right? And to stay out there a little bit longer than you might want to so that you actually expand and expand and expand your comfort zone. And a lot of people talk about getting out of their comfort zone, but it's another thing to actually do it. So today, let's talk about the framework I have for getting out of your comfort zone and staying out there on the edge. My framework is called Bigger, Bolder, Badass. And the first part is bigger. And in that, you learn to stop reality sizing your dreams. We'll talk about that later again in the podcast, but basically we need to remember what it was like to be able to dream. A lot of us have lost that skill. And even if we do dream, we may not have any hope that those dreams might come true. So I want you in the bigger part of the framework, I want you to dream big and dream into what feels exciting, right? Like what would make being on this planet right now totally worth it? We're in a we're in a difficult time right now, right? Things have been crazy for a while and they seem to get crazier. And if we're going to be here, we may as well make the most of it. So, what would make you super excited to be here? What is the thing you've always wanted to try and never given yourself permission? What is something, you know, that you would want, that you would be proud to tell people you had done or experimented with? Um, and maybe even this part is about thinking about, what legacy you want to leave. Even if you don't have children, what story do you want to leave behind, right? So the first part is to really let yourself remember how to dream and how to dream bigger than you've let yourself dream in a really long time. And if it's too challenging, you can dream this much bigger and then this much bigger. So you don't have to go all the way to the edge if that's too terrifying, but to start dreaming bigger than you are currently. The second part of the framework is the bolder part. And this part is critical because when you start dreaming bigger, that's when all of those little voices in your head that you've been accumulating your entire life come in and say, "Oh, who do you think you are? You can't do that. That is not for you. Other people might be able to do that, but not you. Or you're not ready for that. Or it's too late for that, honey. You should have done that a long time ago." All of those voices click in and let you know that, hey, you are not good enough. This is not for you. And what I want to tell you is that everybody has those voices and they never go away. And so that was my wicked witch cackle there, because they don't go away, but there are skills you can use to quiet them down and actually to recognize why they're there. They aren't there to keep you small necessarily. They are there to keep you safe, right? They don't care if you're miserable. It's a part of your psychology that doesn't care if you're miserable. It just wants you to keep living. And it doesn't want you to do anything too scary. And for a long time, for most of human history, ostracism and not being accepted by your community meant death. So a lot of times we are still clued in to that voice that's saying, oh, people aren't going to like that. If you do that, people are going to laugh. If you do that, you're going to make people mad. And that actually equates to dying. in your brain's history, right? So it's there to keep you safe. So you can recognize those little voices and you can learn to like name them, give them sweet little names or ugly little names. And you can draw pictures of what this voice looks like and name it. And then you can like pat it on its little head and say, thank you so much for your input and scoot it out the door, right? I've heard you. I appreciate you. Thank you for trying to take care of me, but you're not welcome here right now because I'm doing this, right? I'm the only voice that matters right now. So that takes practice. And it's one of those practices that you have to continually practice. And that's part of why we're going to have this podcast, right? To help you stay in that bolder phase where you're constantly working with that voice that wants you to be afraid and stay still. And really, I'd love it. This is a big challenge, but I'd really love it if you could start to make friends with your fear. If you could stop seeing stop fear as a stop sign and start seeing it more as a sign that you're on the right path, right? If this is worth being afraid of, there's probably a good payoff at the other end if you stick with it. So, one of the phrases you'll hear me say is make friends with your fear. And that's what we do in the Boulder phase of my framework. Next, we get the badass framework part of the framework. And the badass part, again, part of you is probably going to be like, oh, I don't need to be a badass. I'm not a badass. That's not part of who I am. But badassery in my, actually, the first group that I led through my Bigger, Bolder, Badass format, my program called Bigger, Bolder, Badass, I asked them what they thought badass meant. And the conclusion was that being a badass is letting yourself be fully who you are and not apologizing for it. And that's what I think badass is, right? It's letting yourself be the fullest expression of who you came to this planet to be. And I'm going to do a little side note here. I believe there are all of these people, and I was one of them for many, many, many years, who are looking for their purpose, right? There are people, oh, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is be the fullest expression of who you are. The universe learns about itself through you. So the more you can be, the wider the lens, the more it learns and grows and evolves. So being badass is you living your purpose and not giving a shit what anybody else says. Um, and that can be a challenge. Again, this is all practice, right? Bigger, Bolder, Badass is a framework, but you don't just go through it once and then you're through it, right? You have to keep circling. You get through the dreaming and then you learn to make friends with your fear and then you learn to, live a more bold, badass life. And then you're like, oh, what's the next vision? And then what do I have to do with my voices to get to that level? And then what does this unfolding look like, right? So it's a constant cycle. We never get to go through it just once and then be done. So, the other thing I encourage when you're in the badass part of the framework is that you run experiments. And I'm always experimenting with something that scares me, right? Um, which story to tell here? Um, there are a million, but basically, I am always trying to figure out what sounds fun and also scary. And right now, for this summer is one of those, apparently my summer of yes that I didn't expect to be my summer of yes. But I have started rowing, like sculling with a rowing team. And I have been taking beginner adult tap classes, and I just signed up for um, a flash mob. So I'll be dancing in a flash mob. And I started this podcast on a whim because a friend said, "Hey, come do this podcast journey with me." So you don't have to do all of that all at once, but I'm one of those people who likes to design little experiments, see what that feels like, and if I fail, it doesn't it doesn't that's part of the process, right? We don't get taught as children that failure is part of the process. We, especially as girls, learn that you need to look perfect all the time. And that is not the case in the badass framework, right? We are trying new things. We're laughing at ourselves. We're picking ourselves up and going, okay, that didn't work. What's the next possibility? So again, it's just constant experimentation, and not just for the idea that you've always got to be more or better. It's that, how can I live more fully? How can I enjoy my life more fully? How can I find more wonder in this life? How can I leave more good stuff in the world behind me, right? So I'm not one of those people who's just always telling you, you've got to be more, you've got to be better. You've bigger, bolder, badass is not a way of saying you are not good enough. It's a way of saying there is so much more for you to experience and enjoy and love about life. And I want to help you go find those things. So I hope you'll come back and stick around for this podcast as we try out and further discuss the bigger, bolder, badass framework. Thank you for surfing your edge with me on your way to becoming your bigger, bolder, badass self. This week, choose one idea from today's show that made you curious or furious, challenged you, or made you want to try something different. Play with it and see what happens. I've always got a special gift for you, so click the link below to find out what it is and come back next week to catch a brand new wave. Until then, I am wishing you wonder.